It was the first time I actually was completely alone. I didn't know anyone. And I had to like start from scratch. So I'm in the Department of Biochemistry in Cambridge, and I'm working, I'm a biochemist, biotechnologist actually, by first degree. And my PhD currently focuses on the broad area of cancer, and in particular, the DNA damages that are caused by all forms of sources and the mechanisms that actually repair them every day in normal cells, but how this mechanism actually can lead to therapy resistance in cancers. So we are actually looking to understand one of the main repair pathways in our systems that, despite being crucial to survival every day, it's also implicated in cancer and therapy resistance. And the way I do that is by a technique called structural biology. And very briefly, structural biology basically allows you to see in 3D how proteins look like. And you can't really see proteins by the naked eye, with the naked eye. So you're actually able to visualize them through various techniques. And one of them is the one we are using. So yeah, I'm actually looking at things that you can never see with the naked eye. And by looking at them in different combinations and under different settings, you sort of start understanding how they would repair your damages that are caused into your DNA every day. So that's a very brief sort of summary.
And how did you get into that area of interest?
Well, it all came through evolution. So I was always inclined towards science, even when I was young. No one in my family.
Actually, can we go there? Because the podcast is called Growing Up.
Yes.
That's supposed to be the first question. That's like, yeah, can you briefly tell us how you grew up, where you're from, what the situation that you grew up in was like?
So I'm originally from Greece, and I grew up in Greece, and I left home when I was 18 to study in the UK. But before that, I'm an only child, so I come from a small family, I would say, in comparison to all other Greek families, which are huge. Mine is quite small, immediate family. And no one in my family is a biologist or a doctor, medical doctor or of any sort. So no one really inspired me to do that. I only have one other scientist in the family, a physicist, my uncle, but the rest of them do very, very different sorts of things. And if I remember, I was always interested in chemistry, biology, just because I was interested in the discovery part of it. And I got very surprised when I was 15 and they introduced us to the concept of biotechnology, where they told us that people with diabetes survive because you managed, through biotechnology, the world has managed to create insulin where they can inject into their bodies and basically balance levels out and survive. So I was like,
my brother.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's my best friend's sister. And I was seeing that since I was a kid because I grew up with that person. And I was like shocked. I was like, whoa, like this thing does this? That's how like that girl survives every day? I didn't know anyone else. And then I started looking into it and I got obsessed with biology and biochemistry. And I basically followed a career throughout. Up until now, where I'm basically finishing a PhD, not on diabetes, but like, on the area of biology. I had a bit of influence from my dad. He worked in the pharma industry for years, but not in any medical department or drug discovery department, more on the business side of things. But I was getting subconsciously, I was getting influenced by the sort of like, being in an area where you contribute somehow, I was feeling that vibe from him, that you always like contribute to society, and I liked that, and I went for it.
And did your parents ever have opinions on what you should do?
No, my parents never had opinions on anything, I have to say. Not because they were not involved, they're extremely involved. Just because I think their mentality is, maybe because I didn't really cause any huge troubles when I was a kid. I mean, I did, but like not that much. But I think they just let me do my thing because they realized that that's a way I function. If they ever pressured me to do something, I used to like rebel a lot. So
what's an example of that?
I don't know, like I want to go out, and like see boys when I was 15, and my mom would say no. So I used to do it like behind her back. So what's the point of this, So there've been, when they were saying no to me, I was like, no, yes, I'll do it. But
and how did they react to that?
They didn't know until like years later. I was just making up that I'm going to sleep over to a friend, and then we all would go out, which is like extremely dangerous. Don't do it. But I was rebelling. I think when they were saying no to me, I was rebelling because I think I'm a trusting person. So I wasn't really understanding why they would say no. And now looking back, obviously, 10, 12 years later, I'm like, I get it. Things are very dangerous around there if you're not aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Athens has a big, so I know, having dated someone from Athens, who you went to school with,
No,
right?
we went to like neighboring schools. We didn't go to the same.
You went to school with my other friend.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. There's like the 2 schools in Athens that everyone goes to, including Tsitsipas, the tennis player, right? Or did he not?
No, he didn't go there.
The
Tsitsipas, I don't know where he went.
Female tennis player, Maria.
Yes, Maria Sakkari went to the other school,
the
neighboring school.
So, but I feel like whenever I come across a Greek person in London, it's like one of those.
Yeah, unfortunately. No, I've met a lot of people and I've been happy about this, that, because I don't want only people who had the chance to go to that school to make it abroad if they want to. And the more I stay and I live here, the more I meet people that didn't go to these schools. So that makes me happy because that means that like, everyone who wants to pursue their dreams from Greece, if they want to pursue them abroad, they can, But these schools have strong systems for sending people abroad because they have like international baccalaureate sort of like systems for the last 2 years of your school. So like, yes, they initiated this thing sort of, I think.
But is it still in Greek or you?
No, you switch to English.
Okay.
But I mean, everyone is Greek. Most of the teachers, particularly in my school, are Greek. Were Greek. A few of them were not, but everything and all the exams and everything will be done in English.
Did you do that?
Yeah.
Got it. So, but so I was going to say that my experience of meeting people from Athens and I've been to some of the Greek clubs here, it's very like music, like Greek music, specifically Greek music, which I'm like, I've obviously never heard of any of this, but like going out late into the evening, like dancing, like around Christmas, like lots of like going to clubs things, like, and it's like everyone.
It's a reverse day. Like, you are awake during the night and you sleep during the day. That's like, if you want to put it like very bluntly.
And so that kind of starts from like 15.
Yes, it shouldn't be starting from that age, but I think parents get a bit of a peer pressure from their kids because one kid starts and then everyone else wants to go out. So I went out. I've always had a time limit based on my mom. She would like message me with like capital letters, "It's time to come home now," and like call me like 30 times.
At what time?
At the 3 a.m. Okay, fair enough. To the point where instead of mom, I changed her to J, which is the first, like the contact name was changed to J because I didn't want anyone to see that my mom is calling me. And I just pretended it was my friend Jason because I have a friend Jason. So yeah, like we had a time limit where we had to be back by. And yeah, we usually always went in groups. But I do get it, like super stressful, like thinking about it now, there's so many things that can happen, if you're like young and you don't know.
Yeah. Was this on weeknights?
No, it was on weekends. I mean, we had a few weeknights where we did that on a Thursday, but mostly on the weekends. Yeah. But like my parents knew I would go out,
Yeah, we actually did that in Melbourne as well. It was like fake IDs, like you're going to clubs. But I guess the difference is now, that's more like a young person thing, whereas now I wouldn't go clubbing with my friends in Melbourne, but it feels like in Greece it's like clubbing never ends. Like when you're like in your 30s you're still going.
Yeah, I think it's more of part of the culture. Yeah, I would say I agree. And many places in Greece are a combination of bar / club. So you go there and you consider that as a bar, but has sort of a clubby vibe. So you actually end up reaching like 30s or so, above 30s, and you still go there because you don't feel like you're like 10 years old there. You don't feel old going there. Because I do feel very old when I go to clubs in London, to be honest.
Yeah. But you have to go to the right places.
Yeah. But I felt very old.
I can't believe you feel... Because how old are you? If you're
I'm 27.
going to say it on the podcast.
I'm 27. I'm not that younger than you. But it's, don't you feel that sometimes? That you're like the oldest in the room?
I think, it depends where you go. Some places... I was just in Florence and we went to this bar, this really like... bar that it's like American exchange students go on basically, and that it was like, wow, I am like 10 years older than every person here.
I don't mind it sometimes, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Because it's like exciting for them. It's like they have so much ahead of them, like they have no idea what they're doing. Neither do we. Like,
yeah, exactly. No. The more you get older, the more you understand how much you have no idea what's happening, because you're more aware of like how little you know.
Yeah. So, okay, wait. Last random question about growing up. So did a lot of those boys you went to school with, then they did the army stuff?
Some of them who stayed in Greece, they had to do it.
Yeah.
Some of them that are abroad haven't done it yet, or they go back. They stop their like career abroad, or like in between degrees, they go in and finish and do it.
Wow.
But if you've been abroad, I think the law, I think if you reach 35 and you haven't been back to Greece, I think you get exemption from joining the army.
Yeah. Because how long is it? 2 years?
No. It used to be long. Now it's 9 months, I think. Something like
that's
this.
Fine.
Yes, 9. I think it's 9.
Did your dad do it?
No, he didn't because of medical conditions. So he had like an ulcer, stomach ulcer. So he couldn't, at the time that he was eligible for army, he just couldn't like do it. So he was exempt from, because of medical conditions.
And did both your parents, they're from Athens as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so so you moved to uni in the UK. Were you always going to do that?
I decided that. I think it was an influence as well from friends, because we all decided to do it. And I have a very close group of Greek friends. We all moved together. That was the one thing I think my parents initially didn't want me to do, because I think they were not ready for me to go from when I was 18, because they both studied abroad, but they did so for their like masters, my mom for her PhD as well. So I think they were not ready for that. But then I got into a very good university, so I think they realized the opportunity I would have.
Yeah.
They never said no to me, but I remember them saying, "Oh, why don't you do your first degree here and then whatever." But I was like adamant, so I left.
Why did you want to leave?
I don't know. I was just super excited to do the degree I wanted to do at the university. I did it. So I was like obsessed with education, like that the opportunity I was given, basically.
Okay. And that was Imperial?
Yeah, that was Imperial.
And what was the course?
Biotechnology.
And so you were finding all these courses yourself? Yeah.
I mean, you have a lot of help and counseling from tutors in the school, but I found what I wanted to do. No one like guided me to like what I should do, but they were helping, but no one told me like do that.
Yeah. And did you have to fly over here to do interviews? Or
I did fly here to visit some unis, it wasn't formal interviews, it was mostly informal meetings and like tours and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so that was 3 years. And then you went and worked in the industry, right?
No, I did a master's and then I worked for a year in industry. And then I went back for a PhD.
Masters at Imperial?
No, that was when I went to Cambridge for the first time, actually.
Oh,
I was there before for a year.
And you were at a different college?
I was.
And you started rowing then?
I did. Oh. I discovered myself when I went to Cambridge because, it was the first time I actually was completely alone. I didn't know anyone. And I had to start from scratch. So I found it very interesting, actually.
And why did you choose to go there?
I mean, it was a mature college in Cambridge.
Why did you choose to go to Cambridge?
I mean...
So this is you as a 22-year-old?
Yeah, 21. I don't know I can't really remember what drove me to go there, but I was I wanted advance my education. I wasn't ready to do a PhD mentally, and I think I wasn't mature enough to make that decision. So I was okay, I'm going to do a master's. And I was okay, what type of master's? I was why don't I try Cambridge? Maybe they'll accept me. So, yeah. I mean, I applied and I very likely got in.
And what was the master's?
It was, again, biology, biotech, sort of cancer, around the cancer research area again, but a different topic to what I'm doing now.
Where is the lab for that?
Literally opposite to where my current lab is.
On West Campus?
Yeah.
Okay. So boring to anyone who doesn't know Cambridge.
They can edit,
So what was that like, turning up and you didn't know anyone, you didn't have your friends? New random place in the UK that's very different to London?
I was quite excited because you realize that no one else knows anyone as well. So I was trying really hard to make friends, and I actually made very good friends in the sense of I was trying, I was constantly going to all the events. I was there. I was, I got out of my comfort zone actually because it was very new for me. And I really enjoyed it. And I had the time of my life that year, to the point where I think my degree in the beginning wasn't going very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't that wasn't my priority. And then I was I woke up and Tonia, you need to get a degree now.
Fun. So what kind of stuff were you doing? Just going to...
Go to events rowing. I got obsessed with rowing. So that was taking so much time. All sorts of activities. I was meeting new people, different countries. I was so impressed by what people had done because the college I went to was mature, so only postgraduates could come and above 21. So people had done some crazy things before joining, for a degree or before joining for a master's or a PhD. So it was super impressive to meet them. And I just loved it. I saw a lot of things I didn't know. I think I grew up a lot. I developed a lot. I became more aware of social problems because I got exposed to sort of different opinions, different cultures, different backgrounds, and I became more aware of my surroundings. And I actually really enjoyed because it was the first time, I think, even if I was in London, it was the first time I felt I was part of a diverse environment, and I really loved that. I just loved it, to be honest, because it just made me much more mature to be part of this.
And were you dating anyone at that point?
Yes, I did. I met someone there, which I dated for a while. Yeah, I did. I did date someone for the half of my master's until the beginning of my PhD.
Yeah.
Through that, meeting them through my master's. So almost 2 years. So
then what did you do after the master's? You went and worked?
I went and worked for a year. And then I decided. I knew I wanted to do a PhD. I didn't know when and what PhD. And while I was working, I was okay, I think it's the time. I know it's just 1 year of work, but I wanted to get on with it. Personally.
That was at a pharmaceutical company. You were working at a pharmaceutical company.
Yeah, I was. I had a very good experience and I learned a lot. But I knew that I wanted to do a PhD because I thought that for my career and what I wanted to achieve, I had to do that. So while I was working, I was looking for PhDs, and I had a bit of an issue because I missed all the deadlines. So there was no funding available. So I found a lab, and that luckily had funding. And I just went for it. It took me a while to search what I want to do because 4 years of your life are 4 years of your life. So I wanted to make sure that I choose the right subject, something I love, and I want to do something that has like a sort of like application to where I want to end up in, which is like the area of drug discovery. I want to do that as part of my career. I want to be involved one way or another in that sort of area. So my PhD is very translatable. It has to do with a very important biological pathway. It has a lot of implications in drug discovery. So I did it very, very strategically that I wanted to do that. But, you fall in love with your work. Not always, but it becomes your baby, And, I basically stopped thinking about all these implications because I got so attached to it that now it's when I start thinking about, okay, where will I apply that? But while in these 4 years, you get so obsessed with like making sure that something comes out of it and you want to understand what's going on, that you forget all the sometimes all the surroundings to why you did that and just focus on, getting something out of it.
So are you just remembering this now?
Yeah. Oh. I'm shocked because I forgot about why I started this PhD, why I wanted to do that PhD, because I got so absorbed by it that for 4 years I was just not thinking about, okay, where am I gonna go next? Until a few months later when I was like, okay, let's see what you're gonna do after that.
And did it have to be cancer or not necessarily?
Not necessarily, no. I do like the area. I do like the area of oncology a lot. But I'm happy to move to another area at some point. But I have to say that I really enjoyed, understanding that area through my PhD and through, my work as well.
So what was it like actually doing the PhD? It's like going to the lab every day.
Yeah. You do. You have to do experiments. So it's experimental. Some of them are not. Some are computational or theoretical. Not in biology. In biology are either computational or experimental or a combination. So you either do things on completely on computationally. You don't do any wet lab.
So that's someone else has already got the data and you're just
it depends. You can develop algorithms that answer biological questions. You can analyze data, from big databases and make something out of it. It depends on the area. Mine is a combination of things, mostly experimental, but I did a bit of computational work as well.
Okay. So did the lab you joined, they kind of have an idea of what they need?
Yeah, you usually join the team, depending on some labs have bigger teams, so you're sort of in a sub-team, and you have to answer a specific scientific question that changes throughout the PhD, because some people change their subject completely because things don't work. But in general, you do have a sort of initial goal, what you need to answer. You have a hypothesis or a question.
And who comes up with the question?
Usually your supervisor, so the head of the lab that you're working on will have a few topics they want to address, and they advertise them as research topics. And
they and then it's basically you're kind of their employee.
Yeah.
Working in a full-time job.
Yeah. It is a full-time job, I would say. You're not studying anymore. You're not doing lectures. Some PhDs do have, but mine didn't. You basically go into the lab every day And it's mostly up to you, you know? If you don't do work, it's up to you. You're not the one. You are the one that's going to pay for it in the end.
And then they give you some kind of stipend or something?
They do, yes. They do cover, not all of them, depending on the funding body you're with. They cover your tuition fees, and they give you some sort of stipend.
So you
monthly stipend.
Buy your meals and does it cover accommodation or not?
I mean, it's supposed to include cost of living, basically.
Yeah. And who's the funding body for yours?
It's a mixture of things. They're all like a few funding bodies that my supervisor has gained funding from throughout the years. He applied for them and he got, so it's a combination of things.
And it's like okay, I don't know why I'm asking so many. You would think me having been there, I would learn this stuff, but because it was lockdown, and because for the lockdown, I went to London, so I was like,
I know, you disappeared.
So I'm just learning all this stuff now. Anyway, okay, no, let's go to the thing that I wanted to discuss again about what you told me. Maybe I'll just repeat what I remember you telling me, and then you can correct me. Because I thought it was such good advice that came from your mum about being in a relationship. You're on your track and they're on their track, and it's you are looking forward and focusing on your track. I was literally visualizing it it's like a railway track or something. You're a train going down and you're focus forward, and they're on their thing next to you, your partners, but you don't need to worry about what they're doing or look across at what they're doing. And the best thing is to just focus on yourself.
Yes. So basically what my mom always said to me is, my mom and my dad have been together since they were 19.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where did they meet?
In school. And they followed complete different careers, And what my mom told me, she's I never looked at your dad competitively. I never said oh, look what he has and what I don't have. So she said to me, that was the one thing that you should never compete with your partner, because they're a different entity to you. You can look up to them and you can get inspiration from them, but trying to be competitive towards them and be oh, you're achieving more. What is more, more based on what? Based on, you're not the same person, and you shouldn't be the same person. So she always said to me that, a pure relationship has nothing to do with who is doing better. It has to do you're two different entities that chose to be together because you see qualities in each other that you like. And you're going to be there to help them if they need to. But you're not going to ever compete with them, because that has nothing to do with competition. And I thought about it, and it was you should never feel jealous or sort of envy towards your partner's success. And I think couples do that sometimes. I don't know if you think so, but I think they do. And they shouldn't, because it has nothing to do with them. They would benefit from the success. Hopefully they would. If it's a healthy relationship, they would benefit from the success of the other person.
Yeah. So I think mine is the opposite of being competitive, that I'm too... But I think it's kind of the same idea, but it's the opposite. But it's still something you shouldn't do. That I'm too, caring about what they're doing in a way of, I want them to, have everything figured out and be the best version of themselves. But it's, too much. It's, instead of focusing on me and where I'm going, it's, a cop-out instead of, cool, I trust that you're doing your thing and I want the best for you. And
so you're sort of controlling, that they're making it right.
Well, but not controlling, but more ultra. I actually read something somewhere, and it's this fix. It's this rescue thing, and I think I do it with friends as well. That it's I'm too excited to give people advice because I'm become so invested in where they're going. And it's like, I want you to like figure these problems out, and like I want to help you get there. But then it's almost like I'll create problems that don't exist. So I'll be like, okay, are you really happy in your career? Like maybe you need to do this, or like you would be so amazing at this. I think you need to consider like starting a business here. And it's just like, chill the fuck out. Like it's their life. Stop. Like, but instead of being like, what am I doing? Like, am I figuring out my career stuff? Like I think it actually comes from the same place as like, it's some kind of the insecurity that makes you compete with someone. In my case, is like the insecurity that makes me just want to help them on their life.
But do you think about yourself? Like, do you think like, oh, maybe I should stop thinking about what they're doing because it's out of my control? I should focus on like making sure I do the right thing for myself, because like, I don't know.
Yeah, well then that's the other thing that you said that really helped me from your mum and your grandma. Because I think part of my thing also comes from feeling like I shouldn't be too ambitious. Somehow I picked up these views that's like, I shouldn't, like, men don't like it if you're more clever than them, and men don't like it if you're more ambitious. Oh, men don't like it if you're ambitious. And all these views of like, if you have a career, you can't be like a good mum, and if you know, it's like you're some kind of like, it's wrong as a woman to really go after things, which I know to you is like crazy, because you can tell the story about how your grandma, the things I really stuck out to me was like how your grandma instilled in you like education is so important, and like sat you down at 8 years old or whatever and was like, you need to know about the Holocaust, and like
she actually did. And my grandma, you know, like during her era, like women wouldn't pursue education to the levels they do now. So my grandma didn't go to university, but she was self-educated. She was like extremely educated by self-interest, you know. She would read books, read this, read that, and get an education. But I remember her telling me that, you know, she used to be a bit like old-fashioned, but like she was like, when you sit in like a gathering or a soiree, you know, you have to always have something to say. You can't just sit there and not say anything. And then like she was, you know, Greek grandmas have this sort of like traditional view of like, you know, very motherly and very like caring, and they will like cook for you and take care of you. That's a Greek, that's like that you were here. Like mine, nothing like this. Like I told you, never cooked for me anything. And like, you know, my mom used to take me, like send me for a holiday with her. And like the things I would hear were like just completely random, you know, like nothing. The conversations were crazy. I was like, what am I doing here? You know, I was 8. She was just saying things randomly. She would say like, I'll explain to you what happened in World War II. I'll explain to you why people are in misery. I'll explain to you what are the most poisonous spiders, like things that are like spiders in the world. Things that are like completely random because she was reading about them, you know?
Wow.
But then I think I got subconsciously this like opinion that you have to be like, you know, to pursue, you have to be an independent entity. You have to, you know, the one thing that no one can take from you is education. You know, I don't remember who said that, but someone said that. And it's right. No one can take that from you. If you feel that education in all forms, you know, you don't have to have like the highest degree in the world.
Yeah, like you.
Like, but still, you know, like no one can take that from you because it's yours. You learn it. It's in your brain.
Yeah.
So she was trying to register that in my head. That you should always feel you rely on your education to make decisions and to like form relationships whatsoever. I mean, I'm not sure if everything she said to me is actually I agree with.
Like what wouldn't you agree?
She was a bit like extreme, you know. She would have like a bit of arrogance towards the world sometimes, and
like what?
Like she wouldn't like people very easily, you know. But that was part of her personality.
Okay.
And she would be like too negative about things, and like looking back, I realized that she was too negative about things.
What's an example of that?
I can't really say specific examples, I would say, but I would sense that form of like, you know, like negativity or arrogancy of like, that's not good enough.
Was she happy?
I mean, yeah, like she had a nice family, like, you know, a nice life. Yeah, she was like, but she had this form of arrogancy in her, that I was like, looking back now, I realized I was receiving, and maybe I sometimes do that myself as well. I don't regret it because I think she gave me a lot of things that I owe to her, you know, my personality. Same as my mom. My mom is quite similar to my grandma, and I am very similar to my mom.
And this is her daughter?
Yes. Yeah.
And so was your grandma reading books? Or where
all the
was
time.
She
all the time, like non-stop.
In Greek?
No, in French, in English, and Greek. Mostly French, I think.
Huh. And so your mum then was another inspiring thing that you told me about how she raised you, which this conversation kind of came because I was asking you, would your parents move to London? And you were saying that your dad would love to, and he's finished up work, but your mum is so into her work.
Yeah.
And
I think, my mum is very good at what she's doing, in my opinion. And my mum has always been, she actually, this morning I told her I'm doing that, and she's like, please don't humiliate me. So, like...
Why would she think you'd do
I don't know,
that?
I think she thinks I'm gonna, like, come up with random things. But to say, like, the honest truth, then she got, like, all emotional. She was like, do you ever felt like, you know, that because I was working... that I wasn't there, you know, she got all into that vibe. And I was like, to be honest, no. I didn't, my mom and my dad were both working parents when I grew up, while I was growing up, up until now, and still. That never bothered me. I did remember when I was going, you know, I would see parents picking up their kids from school, and I would sometimes feel, okay, you know, I don't have anyone to pick me up from school. But it didn't bother me. I didn't feel, I wasn't annoyed at them or anything. So I don't, and I think maybe that made me a bit independent as well, because I'm an only child. So I didn't have anyone to, like, you know, apart from, like, you know, my grandparents and stuff, or whoever was there to, like, to take care of me while my parents were working. I didn't have anyone to, like, go to. So I think, apart from, like, a lot of friends that I made, because I had no siblings, I made very strong friends when I was young, so I had them to play. But I think there were times where, like, I didn't have anyone, you know, because maybe my friends couldn't make it or whatsoever. So I think that made me a bit independent, because I spent a lot of time alone.
And what did you do in that time?
I don't remember. I don't at all remember. I need to remember. I don't remember, but I do remember, like, my mom telling me that you were like so independent from a kid. I don't remember what I was doing. That's all what my mom said to me, because you were spending naturally time alone. You know, when your friends were not available, you had no one to play with. You know, unless we were home or something.
Well, yeah, that's why the story reflected so positively on your mum to me, because you explained that she wanted to go back to work.
Like, oh yeah, she got bored.
But because that's what I mean, I've, like, said that to new mothers who think I'm insane, but I'm like, oh my God, do you listen to podcasts? Like, what are you doing when you're just with a baby, like, all day and, like, without anyone to speak to? But you were explaining that you never felt like, you are so close with your parents and you've always felt so loved by them, and they make you feel so special that there was no idea that you're being abandoned or, like...
No. I never felt that. But, like, at the same time, raising a kid is a full-time job, you know? So sometimes you just can't do, like, you know, it's impossible. Initially in the first stages, I haven't experienced myself, but from what I understand, the initial stages, you can't really, you have to take care of these people that depend on you, these humans, you know?
Yeah.
So, like...
Survival depends on
yeah, exactly. So you have to devote your full time. But I did hear from my mom that she cut her maternity leave short when I was, like, not extremely dependent on her, because she was like, I think she wanted to like go back to work. And that never affected me. But I can't relate. I can't say that for everyone, you know. I know that there might be people there that felt neglected when they were younger. But I think you shouldn't, because, you know, like, parents have to find a way. Parents who want to, because, you know, when you make a choice to have a kid, you're aware that, you know, they need some attention from you. So you have to be prepared, and that comes with where both partners contribute to it. You know, you can't. I think it should be a job done if there are two parents, because, you know, that's not always the case. But if there are more than two parents raising like a kid, I think there should be an equal contribution. I don't really understand this like unequal contribution, to be honest.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not possible, and I 100% understand that. But if it's possible, I think the world should change and start like being more flexible towards like both parents. If there are two parents, I say that, and like that's a very important point. They should, you know, there should be some form of like, okay, I do understand that one of them biologically might have to like spend more time with the baby. A mother, for example, that gave birth to that baby. But, you know, I do think that the world should change. And
unless it's that one parent wants to do that and wants to not have a career.
Exactly, because it's a full-time job doing that, you know. And to be honest, like, from what I understand, it's literally like a full-time job. And it should be a choice. That's what my bottom line is. It should be a choice to not want to do two things and want to just focus on raising a kid. And I absolutely respect that, to be honest, because I think it's much more hard than you and I can think. Yeah. Because we've never experienced it, and it's extremely hard to do it. And but if that's not a choice and it's like by necessity, I think the world should change and realize that, you know, women or any sort of parent can do both. And I'm saying women because I think the conversation is you'd want to focus on that. But parents, you know, you can have.
Yeah, well, I don't think any men ever think twice about can they have a career and children. It's just.
It depends.
Obvious.
It depends if they're raising the baby on their own. They will think about that. They will have to think about that. So, you know, I think, you know, you and I talk about this from a woman's perspective, but we have to think about all the different like parents that are out there. They're not only like women that need to make this choice, or sometimes men that also need to make this choice.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, if you're a parent and you want to have a career at the same time as having a family, society needs to sort of start helping you doing that. Yeah.
And some societies do it really well. Like, and they are the ones in the West that have higher birth rates, like Sweden, because it literally designs the system so that men take time off. Like, it's like women only get the full time if the men are also going to take it, or whatever, however it works with couples that aren't men and women. I don't know. But
I guess the parents, if you define yourself...
The secondary caretaker or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, it's like the two people. It's like, if you're both doing it, you get...
You're the legal sort of like parents of the baby. Yeah.
And then France does it by just having like free childcare. So it's like this government looks after, takes such a burden off doing the childcare, which, because here it's like insane the amount of money the childcare costs. Yeah. So it's really, some people don't have that choice because it's like they're not earning enough to justify how much it costs. But yeah, for me, I guess I just don't know that many women. Well, I need to think about it harder, but women who like love their career, that's what gives them purpose and passion, but they also love their children and like have raised children like you, who has a super close relationship. And so, because the other thing that when I'm like, oh, what's an example of a woman who's like super career focused but also has a family, people are like, oh yeah, this woman and her husband's like a full stay-at-home dad. But I'm like, but I don't necessarily, why does that have to be the case? Like, why can't both people be pursuing their passions and then also both be equally taking care of domestic things and kids?
But yeah, it should be, in my opinion, like I said, if there are two parents, you know, it has to be equal. Mm-hmm. Like, it has to be an equal job. You have to help. You know, sometimes it might not be equal because of like practical reasons, you know, but it should be. Like, I don't understand why you don't, like, both parents have to take the same amount of leave. It's very difficult raising a kid. And I'm not saying none of my I don't think my dad took paternity leave. I don't know if he took a few months in the beginning. I haven't asked him actually. But, you know, I think my mom needed it. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah.
She was telling me you were just non-stop crying. So, like, it was just unbearable, you know? And I can imagine, like, I wouldn't stand a kid, like, crying non-stop and not knowing what to do and being by myself. Mm-hmm. You need some support. You know, if you decide to raise a kid on your own, wow, to be honest, you know, because it's a lot. And doing that and at the same time a career, like, these people are fantastic. But, you know, it takes a lot.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to have kids?
I do, but I don't want to stop my career to have them. Mm-hmm. But that's my choice.
Yeah.
And I don't think that any woman who makes the choice, or any woman, or anyone anyway who makes a choice to not have a career, to raise a kid, if it's their choice, that's fair. Like, I'm 100% with it. Mm-hmm. But I do want to do both.
And do you think the partner you'll be with will probably be someone who does both as well? Or
I would hope so. You know, I would hope so, because I will demand it, to be brutally honest.
What if would you be fine with them being fully at home and you're the only one working?
I think it should be equal. I've told you that before. Like, if that's my personal, like I said, opinion, like, and I'm only stating personal opinions here and that reflect on me. I do want to feel that in a relationship, both people contribute. They might not contribute equally for X, Y, Z reasons. And that's fair. You know, personal choice, hands down. But I do want to feel that I'm not the only one contributing and my partner is not the only one contributing.
Yeah. As in financially.
Financially, but also, like, you know, within the family as well, you know, like, and financially, yes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we have to have to the penny exactly the same income. It's fine, you know. Yeah. I think one of us, whoever, will have probably higher income than the other, like, probably.
And do you mind which way it is?
I don't mind, but I wouldn't mind if I was the one earning higher.
Really?
It wouldn't make me think of the other person less.
But are you saying you'd prefer that?
I wouldn't mind who is.
I find it so interesting because I've been asking a lot of people this because these are the things I think about. And it's so interesting, like, it's so individual that some, like, both men and women, some guys are like, I would love someone who earns, like, way more than me and I just don't have to work as hard or whatever, which I'm like, I don't know if they, but yeah, maybe. But then others are like, no. I mean, others, I know people's parents will split up because the dad was, like, so emasculated by whatever. Well, that's the reason said, that the woman earned way more and then the dad couldn't handle that. And that's kind of, I think that's the warnings I've been given. That's like, Delia, stop trying to...
That's so, like, old-fashioned, though. Like, why cannot the woman earn more than a man? What does that mean? What's the problem with that?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Well, and then it's interesting for women, or, friends I've asked, some of them are like, I want to earn more. Like, I guess it's like that competitive thing, maybe.
Women want to earn more.
Yeah. Like, some people I've asked, they're like, I want to earn more. I want to, like, be the most powerful one, whatever, financially. And then other people, like, you know, I really don't care, and they're supporting their partner and they're happy with that. So it is really just, I guess it's just like whatever works. But I think the important thing is, and that's why I think it's helpful to have this conversation maybe for someone else who was thinking as I am, that it's like it actually is fine if you want to have a career. There's nothing wrong with that, obviously, but it's like, I don't know why I still have those views anyway, but it's like you can do that. Not that it's going to be easy, and it's like you have to be with the right partner, but if you are super passionate about your career but you also want to be a mother, like, great. There's like examples of people who've done that really successfully, which is your mom, in my opinion.
But my mom did have help, you know, like, first of all, my dad, because my dad was very involved, but also she did have help. Like, I'm not going to say she wasn't by herself doing that, you know. She had my grandparents, she had help, like external help as well. So I don't think she would have done it without that help.
Yeah.
And that's going back to society, the problem of society. You need to have support, you know, like some people don't have the option to have extra people around helping. You know, my mom did. She had a circle, including my dad, obviously. But, you know, she was lucky on that. And I got a lot of influence from the people that raised me as well. And I did spend a lot of time with them. But what my mom did that I have to owe to her is that, and my dad, and for my, like, especially, you know, and my dad actually, and I really admire them for that, is that they were always available. Like, there hasn't been a time where I called them and they didn't pick up immediately. You know, I'm just putting that a very random, like, the call, you know. There was no way they would ever put something above me. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that everything else falls apart, you know. But they would never be not available. I'm not saying that they're always. Sometimes, you know, something happened, they wouldn't like pick up the phone immediately. But, you know, as a general concept, I never felt that I need my parents that are not there for me because they're working.
Yeah.
But I grew up with the mentality of like, oh, they're not going to be home at 2 p.m. They're not going to pick me up from school. You know, and I did sometimes, I saw other friends where their parents would do that. And, you know, I noticed it, but not to the point where I would get angry at my parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, like, I do owe a lot to my parents, but I do owe the fact that they made me want to be like that as well, you know, because I see that they get a lot of joy out of their careers and out of like being innovative and pushing themselves, no matter, you know, what stage they've reached, you know, in their careers. They want to still keep going, and I think that's spectacular, you know. But I think that they particularly, maybe it's my parents per se, they were always fairly balanced. I never felt that they were like losing it. Maybe sometimes. Actually,
like
maybe
working too much.
Yeah, maybe I've seen them working too much, where like you could tell that the environment, the family was like, okay, you're overdoing it right now. You know, you're overstretching yourself, and you know what's going to come out of this.
So they must be super happy with everything you've done.
Yeah, I mean, they are very happy. They always say that, you know, but I don't think I would have done anything without them. So back to them, you know, right back at them, to be honest.
Yeah.
They've helped me a lot from all aspects,
you
know. They've always been there in every aspect I ever needed. So, like, it's thanks to them, all the chances I had, I think.
And so, when will the PhD be finished?
In a month and a half, I'm submitting.
Oh my god, that's so soon.
I know. And then it goes through, like, corrections, and you have to defend it, and da-da-da. But
at the
end of
Viva
September.
Thing.
The Viva. The big Viva.
And then when will you graduate?
It depends on when I'm done with my corrections and everything.
Okay.
So depends on when I get invited to defend my thesis and what corrections I have when I do them. Usually takes like 6 months from the moment you submit, around this time.
And are you ready to be done with it?
I mean, I'm still having a lot. I just keep realizing how much I have to do. So I don't feel ready, but I have to be ready by end of September. So I have no choice.
And then back to work.
And then back to work.
Are you excited for that?
I am actually, you know, I want to go back to work. 4 years of like a PhD makes you sometimes want to be like, okay, I'm done now.
Yeah.
I'm done being a student.
Yeah.
That's personal for me. But yeah.
Okay. Well, we've been chatting for an hour.
Have we? Oh my god, you have to edit some of it.
Which bits?
I don't know.
Okay. I will stop recording. Thank you so much
Thank you for inviting me.
With me. And hopefully your mum isn't horrified because I just only think really great things about her.
Oh yeah, I think she's fantastic. Hopefully. She'll hear that and she'll let me know.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.